Hello to today. Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webcast for the Trend Radar sessions. We will wait some seconds. The participants are just entering this room, so we have about 25 persons already in. So let's wait some seconds to start. So I just see the numbers of participants is rising, so let's wait some seconds. So now we have 2 minutes past 2, so I would like to start. Hello, everybody, to our webcast session. And today it's about the instant payments. Let's start with some rules. Like always, this webcast will be recorded. Maybe you have heard it in the beginning. And there's a function, the Q&A function. You will find it below with the question mark in the middle. This is the chance to ask questions anonymously. So, and we will collect these questions. You can ask these questions, of course, in English or in German, doesn't matter. But we will present this session today in English, as always in this webcast format. And we will collect these questions and we see it during this presentation. But at least at the end of the presentations, we will try to answer all of them, but we will answer the questions. So hopefully we have good questions and a good conversation afterwards. So these are the rules of this webcast. So my name is Tilman Bolzer. I'm one of the inventors or initiators of this webcast, or the Trend Radar. My colleague Thomas Pick and me, we are asking years before, what are the upcoming trends? What influences the banking business, the financial service business in Germany or in Europe? And we started to think for how we can go for a process and how we can monitor trends systematically. And then we came up to this Trend Radar. This Trend Radar has a large database below where you can ask for trends, and sometimes trends are not a single trends we have to look for. Sometimes there are a combination of trends that makes it much stronger. So we started in 2020 and then we prepared our first European banking Trend Radar. Time is going by, and we have spoken with lots of experts in the banking area from universities, whatever, in Europe, with our colleagues, of course, experts from Deloitte. So then we came to this banking Trend Radar. And in the course of the last 3 years, we published this by topic from 21 to 23. And nowadays, since 24, we have this webcast format on top of it. So we pick up some of these trends to discuss with you, to show you with our experts what maybe is important for the future. And trends in our trend screening have, of course, 2 dimensions. The one dimension is time to mainstream adoption. That means how long is the time in years till I should have implemented it maybe in my organization. And the other question is, what is the influence What is the impact for me, my business model? Is it low? Is it medium or high? These two dimensions are important for yourself to evaluate if these trends are important for you, taking into account in your planning of projects, in your implementation. Maybe it's important for your clients. So maybe you have to act for it. So that's the idea of the trend radar. Just a short recap on it. But we will step into today's session. And today is the question of instant payments. The new normal, isn't it already? So, and I will jump to the next slide. You see my name and me on the right-hand side, but I'm happy to present two of my colleagues. The one is Christiane Neumüller. She is a director in the core business operations part. And in the middle is Daniel Hellmann. He's director in risk advisory. Both are experts in the payments, and since years they are looking for it and implementing some of these years. They both will introduce themselves and then starting today's presentation. So I would like to hand over to Christiane first to give a short introduction of herself. Please, Christiane, stage is yours.
Thank you, Tillmann. Thank you for having me here. And I'm happy to talk about instant payment for sure. So from my history, I was working for a really long time in a bank and also on a service provider for payments. So my experience in payment and cards has a really long history, mainly 20 years. And as I was working also in a bank, I know instant payment, maybe some of you will thinking, is it really a trend? Or is it not something what is already there? But we will show you in our presentation that are some opportunities coming up, but we have also some challenges together. And in Deloitte, as Tillmann was already saying, I'm responsible as in the past, always for payments and cards. And now I will hand over to Daniel.
Perfect. Thank you, Christiane, and also Tillmann for the introduction. And also a warm welcome from my side to this webinar. My name is Daniel Hellmann. I'm with Deloitte since more than 15 years, and during the last 6 to 7 years, I'm working mainly in the payments area with a focus on IT, regulatory, and risk. And in this role, we have, together with the team, performed almost 100 projects in this area. And I will take it on from this point in the webinar, and I will use the first part of the webinar for the regulatory part. And in this regulatory part, I will talk about two things. First, I will set the scene on the key issues, key topics that come with the instant payments regulation and highlight the challenges, especially for banks. And then in the second part, I will go through the deadlines that come along with the instant payment regulation, and will then also amplify a little bit why it is time to act now on that instant payment topic. Christiane will then pick up on the opportunities that come with the implementation of instant payments in the second part of the webinar. So when we go to the next slide, we've drawn here the regulatory timeline from the European Commission since the go live of the PSD2, which ended with the RTS on strong SCA and secure communication 2019. And in 2020, the European Commission published a digital finance package, and in this digital finance package, there was also the retail payments strategy. And in this retail payments strategy was already said that the European Commission will make sure that instant payment becomes the new normal. They said that they will ensure that there is a high amount of consumer protection also for instant payments, and that they will make sure that they reinforce interoperability of the infrastructures that process instant payments. So why that? I mean, in the end, instant payments is, as Christiane already said, nothing really new. We talk about faster payments in the UK that went live in 2008. The instant payment credit transfer scheme for the European Union, for the Eurosystem, was developed in 2017 by the European Payment Council, and RT1 went live in 2017 to process instant payment credit transfers, and TIPS already in 2018. So the regulation was mainly planned because what we have seen in the industry is that there is a missing uptake in the usage of instant payments, that there is fragmentation between the different operators of payment systems in the European Union, and that there are a lot of obstacles in the adoption that hinder the adoption of instant payments, as for example, charges or new type of frauds that are associated with instant payments. So the European Commission took it serious and started already in 2021 with the consultation of instant payments, and then after a public and a targeted consultation came up with a proposal on the instant payment regulation in 2022, and already in this year the instant payment legislation was published in the Journal of the European Commission, and that means that especially deadlines that come along with the implementation of the regulations are set, and these deadlines are very tight. I will come to that later on, but reinforce the topic that we have to say it is time to act in terms of instant payment regulation implementation. With a look on the next slide, we highlight the main topics and challenges that come along with the instant payment regulation, and for the sake of time, we need to highlight only the most important topics here, and we'll not dive into that much details when it comes to non-EU situations and so on, or not Euro situations. But when we start with number one, and I think that's the most important topic, is there is an obligation for payment service providers to provide a service of sending and receiving SEPA credit transfers instantly in euro to all the payment service providers when they also provide standard SEPA credit transfers. So you cannot cherry pick. It is an obligation. If you provide credit transfers, it's also an obligation to offer sending and receiving of SEPA instant credit transfers. And this means that you have to be sure as a payment service provider that you offer this service 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And an exclusion here is only for those countries or member states where they don't have a euro as a main currency, where they don't provide credit transfers 24 hours, 7 days a week. And yeah, and it's important to note here that that's the second point here, that the offering of the SEPA instant credit transfers has to be within all the payment channels. That means it's not only relevant to offer it in online banking or mobile banking, which makes most sense, but also in the areas where you have like postbox over telephone or in the branch, which makes it difficult to start with the counting of the 10 seconds for the instant payments executions. And one of the main challenges that is underlying here is that a lot of changes on the operational side is necessary. So payment service providers need to adapt their payment processing systems. They need to be available 24/7, 365 days a year, which means that especially IT-related run the bank and change the bank processes need to be adjusted. And that's in particular true when we look at also at point 3 and 4, because they need to fit into this obligation as well. And next to the IT part, also business processes need to be adjusted, which means that accounting processes need to be adjusted, reconciliation processes need to be adjusted, liquidity management processes need to be adjusted, and also customer support needs to be adjusted that they meet consumer expectations. So it's very relevant that if there is a problem with the SEPA instant payment credit transfer, that there is someone available who is able to help also 24/7, 365 days a year. To make that even more complicated, the SEPA instant payment regulation brought another topic, which is the obligation to offer the instant payments transactions in euros without additional costs in comparison to traditional credit transfers in the same currency. And this means that payment service providers cannot monetize anymore on the benefits of the SEPA instant credit transfers, as for example, the 10 seconds execution time and the finality, and that they now need to look on for new use cases on which they can earn money in order to not only have a cost case here. And this is what Christiane will touch upon later on. And to make it even harder, I will now jump to point 5. The European Commission brought in the topic of reporting to authorities, which is here under number 5 on the slide, which requires payment service providers to report on the levels of charges for SEPA credit transfers and SEPA instant credit transfers, as well as for the pricing of payments accounts. So this is one to make sure that payment service providers cannot, or I assume that they cannot, it was done, this obligation, to ensure that payment service providers cannot adjust the pricing during the implementation before the go live of the instant payment regulation. And it is important that the first report needs to be published already in April next year. And typically this report needs to be sent to the national competent authorities on a yearly basis. But for the first report that is due next year in April, the European Commission's forces the payment service providers to provide information on charges for credit transfers, instant credit transfers, and for the pricing of the payment accounts back until 2022 to see if there's any, let's say, very short-term changes with regard to charges. And just to finish on point number 5, there's also a topic with regard to the share of rejections. Can we go back, please? For credit transfers, instant credit transfers. And here it is very difficult to see because a rejection there can be several reasons for the rejections of a SEPA instant credit transfer. Can be on the payer's bank, but can also be on the beneficiary bank side. And it's very interesting to see how this reporting will be. And it's not 100% clear for the moment how this reporting has to look like. I will now jump back to point number 3. That's also a very hot topic and widely discussed in the industry. It's the verification of pays for all SEPA instant credit transfers in the European euro area. And this is a measure or a requirement that targets especially on consumer protection, as outlined also in the retail payment strategy. And the verification of pay requirement is often also named IBAN name check, and requires the banks to provide, or payment service providers to provide a functionality to the customer to check that the entered IBAN or unique identifier of the bank account, that it matches with the name of the bank account holder that is connected to that unique identifier or IBAN number. And the verification of pay function shall also be placed before the SEPA instant credit transfer is authorized, and then also shortens, of course, the execution time for the instant payments. So it has actually said this verification of pay function has to be executed within 3 seconds instead of 10 seconds for the execution of the SEPA instant credit transfer. And when we look at this, so it's most probably a window or a GUI that interacts with the payment initiator, and there's 3 result options to the verification of pay function. So one is pay name and IBAN or unique identifier match, pay name and IBAN unique identifier almost match, and pay and name and IBAN or unique identifier do not match. And in the case the payer name, pay name, and the IBAN name match, payer can also gets like a green light and can authorize the payment immediately. In case the payer's name and the unique identifier almost match, the PSP shall inform on the correct bank account holder name, and the payer needs to verify. And in case the payer's name or the payer's name and the IBAN does not match, the payer's PSP shall inform the payer that the funds might be directed in a wrong account. And the important thing here is it's still in the end under the responsibility of the payer. He or she can always authorize the payment and overrule, let's say, the recommendation from the verification of pay function. This has then most probably an impact on the liability, especially when you overrule the information that you might misdirect a payment to a wrong account. The challenging part of this requirement is the provision of the information to the payer. So at the moment, there is a verification of pay scheme in development. Consultation phase has closed, and it is assumed that by end of September, there is a verification of pay scheme in place by the European Payment Council, and then it needs to be subsequently implemented until October of next year. And what's important is that for the payment service providers is that they need to find a provider or a scheme that actually is able to broker this information in real time within the 3 seconds, that necessary databases are up to date, and there are potentially also challenges in relation to data that needs to be considered. So some examples that we see here, for example, is that there is the provision of incomplete or incorrect information for legal entities. So bank account holder name is the complete legal entity name, but the payer only enters, let's say, the company name, but not the legal naming afterwards. Or that you have provisions with regard to incomplete, incorrect information of accounts with multiple account holders, so where multiple people are holding one account and the payer only enters one name. Or also when you have a short list of payees you frequently pay to are set up in the online banking in a way that it does not match the bank account holder name. So this is a topic that needs to be treated to have a good data quality in order to make the verification of pay function work. And what's also a topic that we see is that we have here the point that the verification of P function needs to be implemented in a way that it's not clicked away by the payment service user because he thinks it's a hassle or it's annoying. Last point here is daily sanction screening, and that looks like a ease in the actually, but it actually means that there's a big change in the sanction screening process. It's not transaction based anymore as with regard for the normal credit transfers, but this initial daily sanction screening has to be performed on the customer base, and this is typically something that is not in place today. So it requires also payment service providers to rework their processes with regard to the upload of lists, the checking that all the lists are imported correctly, that you don't have false positives, and so on. So internal quality assurance need to be shortened in the processing to a large extent. And when we look at this, these 5 points in total, we can see that it means some heavy lifting for the payment service providers. That's one thing. The other one is that it does not become any better when we look at the time frames that are laid out in the regulation. And we have them on the next slide. And I will keep myself short here. It's important to know the months that are listed here are starting in March. So we actually have to subtract almost 3 months here already. So when we look at the instant payments regulation for the countries or payment service providers in the Euro system or in the Euro area, we can see that they must be able to receive instant payments already on the 9th of January, which is a short time, and also have to have the daily sanction screening for each client in place. Also, as mentioned before, in April, they need to send the first reporting to the authorities on the fees and the percentage of declined transactions. And by October 9th, 2025, payment service providers need to be able to send instant payments and also need to have the verification of payments procedure implemented. When we look at the non-Euro area countries, it's a longer period, but similar ones. So you have 33 months to be able to receive instant payments and perform the daily sanction screening, and you have 39 months or October 2020. No, I'm sorry, so October 2027 for the ability to send instant payments in Euro and have the verification of pay procedure in place. Before we move to the part for the use cases and the monetization of instant payments, we have one question for you, and I would like to ask you, use the function in Zoom, but please only look at the banking participants here in this, or PSP participants here. And the question is, what's your status of the instant payment implementation? And the answers are already implemented, in implementation, not started yet. And happy to see the results.
You should see status, because a short question with these 3 topics already implemented, in implementation, not started yet. So a quick poll. Yeah, and here are the results. Can you see them?
Yes, perfect. Okay, it's actually a little bit of what we have expected. So it's good to see that almost everybody of you already have implemented it or are implementation. And I can imagine that just circling it back a little bit on the key topics that come along with the instant payment regulation, that the first and most important thing is to achieve compliance with the instant payment regulation. But I think second part, and that's maybe already of interest for all of you who already implemented instant payment regulation, is the question what to do with it, how to earn money on it. And for that, I would like to hand over to you, Christiane.
Perfect. Thank you, Daniel. And it's very interesting, the result. For sure, I was expecting more 80% already installed, but maybe this is something what is told in the banking area, that we are really ready for instant payment. But interesting. So let's come to the other point. As I was preparing myself for today, I was remember as I was working for a bank several years ago, for sure. But I remember that we discussed a lot as it starts to come on the table. Instant payment, is it really necessary? Who will be interested in this? My colleagues and me said, okay, maybe no customer will be interested if it's settled immediately, or maybe day plus one, with SEPA and the PSD, 1 day after it has to be settled. But in the meantime, after also long discussions, also with the industry, with other areas, and also looking on Generation Y and Generation Z, and maybe also the digital natives, they're expecting more. Everything has to be done immediately. And during this discussion, I changed my mind also and said, no, maybe is it no longer true? Is this not so important? Maybe it will be important in the future with all the different possibilities and opportunities we have. But let's start with a look on the adoption rate in European countries. So I have the picture, I made the picture with Euro countries, but also with other currencies. And as I was looking first at this slide, I was saying, okay, are the Euro countries so slow? Is it UK and Sweden? For sure, from the Nordics, we know they are really fast. They are no longer working with money. So everything you can pay by mobile devices. UK started, as Daniel already said, 2008 with faster payment. They had P2P. Everything was fast and accepted and was the new normal. But then I looked at the Netherlands. For sure, the Netherlands also have have the Euro. And what they did in 2021, they switched all single credit transfer to instant. So this means why the rate also in the Netherlands per capita in 2023 was really high. So it's not true to say, okay, other countries with other currencies are faster than the Euro countries, because it could be also happen in Euro countries. Also, if we are now looking at Spain and we try to understand a bit more Spain, so we did it and we talked internally with our colleagues of Spain. They have a strong political consensus and a cooperation of the banking community, and now it started to grow. Then I've looked to maybe France. I learned they stagnated because the banks are not so cooperative. The community is not pushing together. The banking community is not pushing together in the right direction. And then I was asking myself, okay, are we in Germany on the same stage? Are we also, maybe we have a lot of banks, we have a lot of discussions, we have a lot of solutions, we have our Girocard. I know all the discussions are important for sure for Germany. We are one of the biggest. But I think the time is right for instant payment. And when you look at this picture, I can understand also the regulatories or the regulatory requirement from the regulators to say, okay, now it will be mandatory. Keep in mind, we started in November 2017. And this time I was also working for banks. We started with instant payment. And now 7 years later, it's a mixed picture for sure, but it's not normal. And I think on this, we have to work. And for sure, we have to find opportunities also to earn money with the solution. So let's step to the next slide and move forward. So this for sure we discussed also in the past, if we are starting with instant payment, and if the regulatory requirement said, okay, you can't earn money anymore with the pure instant payment, then we have to think about opportunities. And I was also thinking about Pay Direct. Some of you remember maybe this. And I was in the past also part of the team for Pay Direct. And I remember also that a lot of people said, okay, is it really necessary also instant P2P? Is it really necessary in the market? What are you looking at this point? And maybe in this time, okay, it was not accepted. But yesterday, Daniel and myself talked about exactly this. And as I said at the beginning, I was in the past also on the other side, on the bank side. And Daniel told me, hey, Christiane, are you sure what you are saying? The market is not ready. The Germans don't want to have P2P. Is it really the right solution? Or was it maybe a problem of the marketing? So to bring it in the market. And then I was, I was asking myself and said, okay, yeah, maybe he's right. There was an opportunity, and we were not able to catch it. And if you look at the market, and also I checked it, the market share from PayPal is in Germany 10%. So, and we know a lot of people are using this for P2P. They are like to do it seamless payments, easy. And I think there is a market. So we can really look at it and think and think, what are our customers? For sure, it depends also on your customer base. And we have to look carefully in every bank, what are the customer base? How can we work with them? There are, I think, different needs, but there are opportunities. And also, I remember years ago, I did an interview, and the title was Europe between Apple Pay and Alipay. And now I think we are still in this situation that we are in between, and it's time maybe really to move forward and to say, yes, we will also establish a comprehensive solution for Germany. And for this, and if you're now looking on EPI, Vero, also maybe Digital Euro, there are also a lot of other things are going on in Europe. Instant payment is a basis for this. And so it makes sense to go on and to work on this. But now let's step on the next slide and have a look on the opportunities. Thank you. And let's have a look on the opportunities. We discussed and tried also to evaluate with several partners of several industries. For sure, I discussed it, I think several weeks ago with a colleague from a bank, and he told me, okay, if we are now talking on instant payment on the solution we offering our customers, if we go to the corporates, they are telling us, hey guys, we are not ready. So we have also to use this momentum or this instant payment to do a lot of things in our system. So there are not really instant operations. We have back end. They are doing something manually, and so is not really ready. But we are for sure interested, and maybe can we find a way together. And for banks, for sure, there will be other afterwards an opportunity to bring dashboards, liquidity dashboards, really instant, that they can make cash pooling, cash management. I know it from the past. It was always a big interest on the cooperative customers. Next point was, also I discussed it several years, for if you are traveling and you are outside from the Eurozone, maybe really outside from Europe, and you have problems and you have to go maybe to a doctor or in a hospital, and you need immediately money, we learned it takes a long time, still a long time to bring the money maybe to the hospital or to be able to get the money. And for this, also insurance companies said, yeah, maybe it makes sense. There is a big opportunity, and maybe this is also a differentiation if we can offer our customer something like this. And Daniel and myself were last week on the EBA days. I think the audience already know EBA days, because if you are interested in payments, you know this community. And this was really interesting. 45% of the attendees said, okay, exactly what Daniel said before, credit transfer and instant credit transfer on a non-euro level. So that means not only euros, also other currencies are involved, will be really bring main opportunities for the future. And that step to request to pay, I think the audience already know this discuss about request to pay. We did also several years, and now it's going on to grow. And also on this stage, we had a lot of discussions with the different industries like e-commerce, in-shop payment, utilities, the mineral oil sector, insurance companies I was explaining before. And everything was saying, yes, there is a market there. So let's start and let's find the right opportunities, and let's start to make it happen in Germany and in Europe. And now we are 2 minutes before. I want to ask you finally a question. So we did a survey with customers and asked them exactly what you see the questions. And it's very interesting what you are saying now. Is something happen?
I hope so. Now you get your results.
Ah, great. And now I will tell you, it's totally interesting, and I love it. I love exactly this result, because you know, as you are in the financial industry, we are sometimes saying we are in a closed community, we are special, but exactly this results, when I'm looking at the results we got from the customers we did in the survey, really, really near together. The first question, 23%, we have also on the official result. On the other side, we had 34, and we have here now 31. On the other side, 42 and 33. 39 and 4% and 4%. It's closely identical. So I like it. So we are not so different from our customers.
You have to get it back. The first one, what you said, is regular basis paying. That's the 23, maybe a quarter of all.
Yeah.
Occasionally is 31. Not yet is 42. And I don't know, is at least 4%. So you have to add the question or the answer, sorry, to the percentage.
Okay.
Okay, good. So, but you love it, I know.
Yeah, I love it. So you can also find our survey about instant payment, and if you are checking exactly these results, you can see it's nearly similar. So as I was saying, we are not so different from our customers.
Very good.
We are all customers. And so thank you also from my side. Any questions?
Yeah.
Stefan, I know we are over time.
Yeah, that's a little bit problem, but maybe we can ask can answer one or two questions. Let me check if there's already something here. I can say we can. No, at the moment I can't see a question open. Maybe someone.
I think we have a raised hand from Christina Krasteva. Maybe you can put your question in the chat.
Or you ask verbally. It's also fine.
No raised question anymore. Sorry.
In German or English, okay. So I can't see a question really coming up. Okay, maybe you give us some seconds, but I will give you an outlook for the next webcast in between. But I'd look to the window of the open questions. So the next episode, the next webcast is number 5. It is called Beyond Banking. The opportunity of becoming for banks a new business ecosystem. So there is a colleague of us, Andreas Royce, his partner, and he brings 2 colleagues with us, Benjamin and Sahar, and they will give you some insights about the idea of beyond banking. So, but in between, there's a question rising up, and maybe some of you are interested in this discussion. Please stay here so long. So the question is, now are coming some more, but let's start. Could you go back to the PayPal dominating in the German payments market? Is this likely to change the future by banks stepping up? So the question is of PayPal, maybe already introduced in payment cycles like private or in Amazon or wherever. So is it an advantage, and what is with the banking market to step up? Christiane, maybe is it yours, or is it?
I can take it and I can try to answer. So, but I can't look in the future really. But this discussion we had several times also during my time in a bank. And what I learned also from the merchants, I don't know if we have some merchants here, everyone told us PayPal or also MasterCard and Visa are not the preferred solutions. If we have in Germany or in Europe something similar, then they will use it for sure. And so if we are doing it together, for sure, it's not only banks have to step in. So we have to find the right cooperation to work together. I think then we can change maybe the market. And keep in mind, if we are talking about PayPal and also Apple Pay or Google Pay, what they are using is our infrastructure, our payment infrastructure, or the cards behind. So yeah, let's start maybe the fight. And hopefully we can change for Europe and for Germany.
That's a good point. I think there are their businesses or their applications are based on our infrastructure. They are using our infrastructure. So that's good things to say. Let's fight back to get it paid and used by our customers. Good, good. Okay. So let's go to the next question. And I think I hand it over to Daniel at the end, because it is what is now the biggest challenge for banks for the upcoming months to prepare?
Yeah, I think as we've seen that most of you or most banks are already in the implementation of instant payments or have implemented it. I think the biggest challenge is to implement the verification of payee service or functionality, as well as the daily Schengen screening, as it again next to the instant payments infrastructure process changes introduces additional processes or change processes. That's one big challenge when we only look into the instant payment regulation. But if we make it a little bit bigger picture, so there's also the new payment service regulation coming up, and there are similar requests. There's also verification of pay requests or functionality for standard credit transfers. There's data exchange, working on measures to reduce fraud. That's the biggest challenge for banks, and that it comes from so many different angles, different regulations. I think that's the biggest challenge for banks to prepare.
Yeah, thank you. So we are slightly over time, and I would like to close it now. So if you have some questions, we will bring this presentation into the internet. You can find it there, and of course you can contact the colleagues from Christiane and Daniel if you have further questions on this topic. So otherwise, I say thank you for presentation to my colleagues. Thank you for joining this webcast. And the next one is, as I said before, and I will show it a little bit in the second. So next one's end of August with a topic beyond banking, the opportunity of becoming for banks in new business ecosystems. That's another upcoming question for the future of banks. Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. So I will close it now and hope to see you next time. And if you have some colleagues who are interested in these topics, please give them a note, do some advertising for us. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.